Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay. I'm not sure, Khadija. Is everyone able to hear me okay? Yeah, if you can just mention in the chat box if you can hear me, that'd be great. Anyone? Oh, we can hear you? Okay, awesome. Just give like maybe a minute more for people to come on and we'll get started, inshallah. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين والطاهرين وصحابته ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. We left off last week on the chapter of time and its importance, and the hikmah was ما فات قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى نفعنا به وبكم ما فات من عمرك لا عوض له. The part of your life that has gone by is irreplaceable. وما حصل لك منه لا قيمة له. And that which has arrived is priceless. All of our lives are considered to be probably the greatest gift that Allah Ta'ala gave us because it's filled with this idea called time. And time is precious and wonderful. It's something that we are grateful for because the fact that time, it carries the opportunities to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you look at time, what makes time so wonderful is the fact that through time we're able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we didn't have time, then we would not be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we didn't have time, we'd not be able to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So time is essentially a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the fact that in those moments in which we live, we're able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you look at someone who truly recognizes the value of time, it's often those individuals that are facing a point in time in their lives where that time is expiring. It could be the end of high school for youth. Now they recognize how precious those relationships were as a person's moving on. I remember for me when I was leaving madrasa, the day I was graduating, It was too cold today. Remember when we went out, you guys snow started running and it was too cold, so tomorrow on show. I was. Um, then we see, like when I was in Mother's Club, the day we were leaving, our graduation days. Our graduation day was very, very unique because in the morning, before Fajr, we received a message on our phone saying that Mulana Ghulam had passed away, one of our teachers. Well, I never actually had a chance to study with because right before I arrived to Zambia, he had a stroke. And then those 2 years that I was there, for my final 2 years, he didn't teach. But we would visit him. And I knew his son, Anas, quite well. And um, so he passes away. And then now we all go right after Fajr and we're wondering, will the graduation be canceled? Will it not be canceled? And they still held the graduation, but it was a very emotional time. I remember Mona Saeed, who was one of our classmates, he was delivering the welcome, and he had told everyone that, as you sit here today, remember the fact that you're very fortunate because for him, both his mother and father had passed away. His mother had passed away in his early childhood, his father had passed away in his early adolescence. And so, and he started crying. And already it was very, very emotional for everyone there. And then one of the teachers who was emceeing, he was recalling his father. He began to weep, and it all was surrounded over the fact that people were departing and moving on. Those who had departed from the parents and from the teachers, you recognize that you could not get the time back anymore, and it began to make a person really think through the fact that time is extremely short. And by nature of it being so short, a person can never take advantage of that time properly, but a person will begin to regret the loss of time, namely when that time is expired. No one begins to regret the loss of Ramadan, the night before Ramadan or the first moments of Ramadan. Ayyam ma'dudat, they begin to regret Ramadan as the moments come to an end. And then people wish that Ramadan could go longer. And life is the same way. When any phase of it comes to an end, a person begins to be filled with regret. Excuse me. So he mentions ما فات من عمرك لا عوض له. Whatever part of your life that has died, ما فات, whatever has left, whatever's expired, whatever has died, لا عوض له. There's no عوض. There's not going to be anything that will be replacement for it. There'll be no merchandise. There'll be no object. There'll be no replacement for it. I can have, for example, um, in any type of what's what I'm looking for, in any type of worldly reality, you can have an object, and that object can be replaced. Worldly, meaning like from the actual merchandise of this world. But the moment a person loses something that's irreplaceable, that person then begins to recognize the true nature of this world. And so when a person is looking at the dunya and they see within the dunya all the things that surround us, we have bookshelves. If your bookshelf falls apart, what do? You buy a new bookshelf. If your car breaks down, what do? You repair it or you buy a new car. If you lend a book to someone and what happens, they don't return it, what do? You go and buy a new book or you get a new book from the library. That's what we're so accustomed to. So iwad is a substitute. And so when you have or an equivalent or a replacement, and so when a person does looks at this dunya is filled with the iwad. All of these things that are around us, we know that we have substitutes for them. So sometimes we begin to forget that not everything will have a substitute. So ما فات من عمرك لا عوض له. That whatever passes in our lives, the moments that pass, it's 8:10 now. I came on online around 8 o'clock or 8:01. 8:01, 8:10 will happen every day. But 8:01 or 8:11 p.m. right now on the 4th of April 2020 will never happen again. That's not going to ever happen again because the nature of time is the moment it comes and it leaves, it never returns again. So ما فات من عمرك لا عوض له. In the wise individual is the one who recognizes that Every it's not a moment doesn't pass. We should recognize a moment doesn't pass. Moments they don't pass. Moments they die. Let's be very honest with ourselves. We are comprised. We are comprised of multiple moments. That's what our lives are. They're this. They're this like combination or this 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 joining of multiple moments. If I live to be 100 years old, you want cereal? Want cereal? No, what do you want? Okay. Okay. Go, mama now. Okay. Bye, bye, Anas. Bye, bye, Baba. Smile. Okay. We're comprised of moments. In moments, what happens when all the moments pass? We call it death. So death is the end of all these moments. But as we pass through every moment, that's the death of that moment. The death of 8:11 p.m. on the 4th of April 2020 just took place. The death of 8:09 p.m. on April 4th, the 4th of April 2020 has taken place. And then when all those small little deaths add up, then we die that greater death. So there's no replacement at that time. وَمَا حَصَلَ لَكَ مِنْهُ لَا قِيمَةَ لَهُ. And that which has arrived is priceless. And what that means is that this entire earth that we're in as an opportunity. And the Salaf, they were very careful. Every breath they really try to maximize to the extent that they would try to train their breathing to say Al in the inhalation, La in the exhalation. So they would live such that every moment they were inhaling and exhaling the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So an individual who's living this way, then there's no moment that passes except that they take advantage of it. However, and then so when they arrive, by that what it means is that the moment a servant spends properly in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in shukr, in istighfar, in hamd, in tasbih, etc., those moments are going to be considered what? They're going to be masterful moments that we have what? Finally, we took advantage of properly. Excuse me. Now, the next one, al-khidlanu, al-khidlan, something that is upsetting, something that's regretful, something that's disappointing. Kullul khidlani, every disappointment combined. أن تتفرغ من الشواغل ثم لا تتوجه إليه. Is that you become what? Free from what makes you busy? Then لا تتوجه إليه, but you don't turn towards him. Meaning what? Allah. The way the Musannif translated is, it would be disappointing, really disappointing, if you were to find yourself free of distractions and then not head towards him, meaning Allah. وَتَقِلَّ عَوَائِقُكَ ثُمَّ لَا تَرْحَلَ إِلَيْهِ. Or if you were to have very few obstacles and not move towards him. Now this is amazing because there's two types of people, and all of us fall into one of these two types of people. The first is أن تتفرغ من الشواغل. Those individuals who finally become free from whatever it was that was holding them back from submitting to Allah, remembering Allah, from worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They finally reach that state, and then what? ثُمَّ لَا تَتَوَجَّهَ إِلَيْهِ. They don't turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is really disappointing, it's really worrisome. Why? Because for a person, that's what they're always promising themselves, and by virtue they're really promising Allah that when I become free of this, then I'll turn towards you. When I become free of this, then I'll submit to you. When I have a weekend that comes or no, then I'll pray tahajjud. When I don't have to be physically active, then I'll fast. What happens? Those moments, they come and they go, and a person recognizes that I did not do what I was supposed to do. This is the true one khidlan, who should be disappointed and upset with himself or herself. Because فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب. The Prophet was told what? That when you إِذَا فَرَغْتَ, when you now free yourself, فَانْصَبْ, now's the time to become focused. Now's the time to hold tight, إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب, and make effort to submit towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now if a person at any given moment finds free time, like true free time. And what are they going to do? Unfortunately, they're going to turn it towards what they love the most. So those individuals who love to listen to certain things, maybe talks or Quran, then the moment they get free time, they'll pop those earbuds in their ears and they'll listen. Those people who love to read, the moment they get free time, they lay down, they pull out their book and they start reading. Those people who love Netflix, the moment they get free time, they sit down, they pop open Netflix and they begin to watch. So when a person gets that free time from being busy, ثم لا تتوجه إليه. Because look, shughl, everyone's busy. Everyone's busy something. Some people are busy wasting their time. Some people are busy working. Some people are busy working out. Some people are busy, whatever the case may be, they're busy doing different things. So when a person is busy, what they're really saying is, I'm busy, I'm occupied in something to not be able to do something else. So when they're occupied in doing that which is their sort of their mundane activity, they're unable to engage in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that person at that given moment probably desires to get free. And when they get free, those moments when they're free, that's a hujjah for them or against them or bring your goal. Those become few. Those obstacles, they diminish. ثُمَّ لَا تَرْحَلَ إِلَيْهِ. Then you don't move on to him. So over in this category, we're those people who are busy. But the moment we gain some free times and things become a little less, are we taking advantage of that as well? And this is where people have to recognize that's not always about becoming completely free. Sometimes it's about what? Just gaining enough time to do something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those people who love, who are in love, they look for even the smallest moments to call their beloved and speak to their beloved. Look at a person who's newly married. A person who's been married for years upon years upon years. She's at work, he's at work, and they have some free time. They don't necessarily call their wife right away, their husband right away. A person, and they have like an hour, 2 hour break. A person who is a newlywed, they're walking from class to class on campus, or they're at work, but now they're going to lunch, or they're walking to a meeting. They might pull out their phone and just text or call or whatever message at that moment. Why? Because they want to get in what their heart desires badly at that moment. And so, whatever circumstance presents itself, the person who's truly in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will now try to take advantage of that circumstance. Now, the true loss and misfortune comes in the day of judgment when the person sees all the free time he or she has. And I really fear in the day of judgment, Allah Ta'ala will show our lives and we'll just see a bunch of this. That's all we're going to see. Swipe, swipe, press, press, look, look, watch, watch. And it'll look so strange. People just staring at their hands the whole time, staring at these screens, watching other people live out their lives instead of living out their own lives. It'll be a very sad day. That's the true misfortune. Al-Khazlan, Kullul Khazlan. That this is complete misfortune. How upsetting, how disappointing is this? So if a man has any wealth to free himself, or a person has any wealth to free himself or herself from involvement in the worldly affairs, but refuse to apply themselves to obey Allah, then that person will engage in ghafla, lahu, la'ib, all this in distract from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they will have much regret on the day of judgment. And nowadays, when we have extra time because we're working from home, I know it's not that easy. Some people aren't working at all. It doesn't mean that you stop searching, but you still make an effort to spend some time for the sake of Allah. If a person is now catching up on all the sleep they missed out on because they don't have to drive an hour to work every day, it's a waste. Keep the habit up. Wake up a half hour earlier and now pray tahajjud for Allah Ta'ala's sake. Sleep maybe 10, 15 minutes later and pray 2 extra rak'ah and read a page of Quran for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That's how a person recognizes that I have this free time. I'm going to maximize this free time. Because time is really the only type of the only actual what's the word I'm looking for? The only a currency that we have. And we move on to the next chapter on patience through adversity. And this is where we are today. And this patience that we're supposed to show in times of adversity, this is actually where a person has to be very, very careful. Because sometimes people say, well, I'm patient. One, we should never seek patience. Prophet did not like for people to ask for patience. We should ask too, if we're in the situation where patience is needed, that we show patience. Because patience requires what? It requires tests. I can't be relaxed in complete comfort and saying, oh, I'm being patient. No, no, no. I have to have a test to subsequently show my patience. So if a person is, and one of the Sahaba was asking for tests in this world and patience in this world, and that's not, and then the Prophet saw he was in complete difficult state, sickness and ailment and harm was upon him. So the Prophet ﷺ, he asked him what dua you're making. And the Prophet told him to say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. We don't seek difficulty in this world, and we don't seek sabr. Sabr is in case we are afflicted with difficulty. But now we are afflicted with difficulty. So the Musannif rahmatullah alayhi, the author, he mentions, إذا فتح لك وجهة من التعرف. If he, meaning if Allah opens for you a door, من التعرف, thereby making himself known. Ta'arruf, ma'rifah. This doesn't mean to know Allah as we know one another. Ma'rifah is a recognition and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, submission to Him. It's not that we know Him as, this term, sometimes we're restricted by language. So, إِذَا فَتَحَ لَكَ وِجْهَةً مِنَ التَّعَرُّفِ, when any type of pathway, when any type of opening, when a door from knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is open for us, فَلَا تُبَالِي مَعَهَا إِن قَلَّ عَمَلُكَ. Then, فَلَا تُبَالِي, there's no problem. Or here in this case, says pay no heed. مَعَهَا إِن قَلَّ عَمَلُكَ. If your deeds do not measure up to this. This might take us the rest of the time because this is a very, very profound. I mean, they're all profound, but it's a very deep hikmah. ألم تعلم أن التعرف هو مورده عليك. For in truth, He has not opened it for you, but out of a desire to make Himself known to you. والأعمال أنت مهديها إليه. Do you not know that He is the one who present? ألم تعلم أن التعرف هو مورده عليك والأعمال أنت مهديها إليه. That do you not know that He is the one who presented the knowledge of Himself to you, whereas you are the one who presented Him with deeds? وأينما تهديه إليه مما هو مورده عليك. What a difference between what He brings to you and what you present to Him. So let me explain this for a moment. One of the main goals when striving to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tazkiyah, tasawwuf, ihsan, whatever you want to call it, is ma'rifah of Allah. Gnosis. To have knowledge of the greatness of Allah, to have this interconnection, understanding of our role in relationship to our servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so what the Musannif Ibn Ata'illah al-Iskandari rahmatullah alayhi is mentioning, when any door of knowing Allah ta'ala, a small window, maybe an experience in prayer, maybe a time of reflection, a person then begins to have a deeper connection to Allah ta'ala, or an understanding of Allah ta'ala's sifat, something opens up to you. إذا فتح لك وجهة من التعرف فلا تبالي معها إن قل عملك. Don't sweat it. Don't worry. Don't be overwhelmed if your deeds don't match up. فإنه ما فتحها لك إلا هو يريد أن يتعرف إليك. فإنه, for verily ما فتح لك, He didn't open this opportunity for you إلا هو يريد, so He wanted أن يتعرف إليك, to make Himself known to you. Now, why do we do good deeds? We do good deeds to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But another reason why we do good deeds is by virtue of doing good deeds over and over and over and over, we begin to practice on those deeds and try to gain a level of perfection in those deeds, at least proficiency in those deeds. So if we're praying for 30, 40, 50 years in our lives, the prayer should become proficient. Now, in the proficiency of this prayer, a person should now recognize what? I've been praying, I understand how to pray. Now the physical aspects of the prayer have become complete over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I've been able to perfect them in the recitation, etc. Now let me spend the rest of my life working on the internal reality of the prayer, such that I am now fixing my understanding of Surah Fatiha. I'm understanding what the deeper meaning behind every position in prayer. When I'm saying the different phrases and the different portions of prayer, the different movements in prayer, I'm saying it with a deeper understanding. We spend some time, and we do our entire lives trying to maintain perfecting the physical elements of prayer. So now we can have more time refining the internal elements of prayer. So when a person makes this effort, what happens is that a person makes effort in their physical worship, then Allah Ta'ala rewards them with an opening. And that opening, one thing a person recognizes, the closer they get to Allah Ta'ala, the more that they are what? Undeserving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're undeserving of His love, they're undeserving of His majesty, His magnanimity, His forgiveness, His blessings, etc. When they recognize they're undeserving of it, it makes them feel less in front of Allah Ta'ala, which is a good thing. So what he's saying here is that when any of these openings occur to you, don't now look through the lenses of your worship, because the reality is He opened up when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala opened up this goodness for you. Then what's going to naturally happen? So let's put it this way: you are a child and you are serving your parents how a child serves their parents. Then you become a teenager, you serve your parents, they tell you to do something, you sort of grumble under your throat, etc., under your breath, etc. You go do it. Sometimes you might not even do it. Now what happens? Your parents reach old age. Now your parents reach old age and they ask something of you. And now you see their body has a stoop on their back, or the hairs have fallen out or turned gray or white. So the moment they say something, you recognize how priceless this command is. You want to do it out of your love for them and out of hope to please them because the time is so short. And then you recognize when you do whatever they ask you to do that it didn't make up for anything. They asked you to they're not feeling well, so they asked you to drive them to the hospital. And then you drive them to the hospital and you take them back home, then you go back to your family. Then you recognize that all those times they drove me to the hospital, I haven't even paid them back one iota. And even the way I took them there, I should have spent more time asking the doctor questions, etc. And you look at your actions, they become almost irrelevant. They're minuscule. They don't carry weight in front of the one who asked. So what happens is the closer you get to recognizing their value, the more you see your action being absolutely worthless. This is what happens to a person who grows closer to Allah but in a higher state. As they're doing more deeds and they're going closer to having more gnosis, more ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they become worried that, oh, He's so great and He's so magnanimous and He's so beneficent and He's so merciful and He's so forgiving and all these things. My deeds don't match up to anything. And then that person now begins to feel that her deeds are useless. And they begin to become depressed or despondent or unhappy with their deeds. So this is what he's saying don't do. Because why? The aim of additional voluntary worship, this is beyond the fard. Every dua, every fikr, every muraqabah, every dhikr, every qira'ah, everything extra. The purpose of it was for us to eventually gain this ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he mentions that if you have, once you reach that ma'rifah, then it will be understandable that you decrease a little. But that decrease will not adversely affect you. Why? Because now it's about going from reaching to maintaining. And we can look at this in many examples. You see a student who's learning and studying and studying and studying and studying. And after a certain while, they've mastered the foundational sciences, and now they're studying. They don't have to study as hard as they did before. The maintenance of their knowledge will not require as much work. You see it like physicians that they're studying to become a doctor in medical school. They don't have to work as hard to maintain it because in their interaction, they're constantly maintaining what their knowledge. Or you see a mechanic who's learning all the different parts of the car, etc., and how to diagnose something and to fix it, etc. To maintain that position is not that difficult. You see an athlete's working out to get their body to like the top shape it could be in. If they had to start at a point where they were overweight and they were unable to function properly, etc., that to get themselves back to normal shape and then above average shape, then the shape of an athlete himself or herself. Once they reach that point, the maintenance of this will not be as laborious and difficult as this entire process up. And what happens is at this level now, other responsibilities come up. So now a person is what? Sort of bound to those responsibilities, but in the way in which they they maintain themselves, they don't have to put. I mean, they'll still put a lot of effort into it, but they don't have to do as much. So religiously as well, when a person arrives at a position of ma'rif of Allah Ta'ala, doesn't mean they start sinning, but all of those extra acts of worship, some of them might be curtailed away. Why? Because oftentimes when people reach positions, they have to now serve the community. Person becomes a scholar. They can't put all the time they went to studying in their daily routine anymore. Why? Because now they have to go and they have to go serve the community through their knowledge. A person becomes a mujahid. They can't go and take all that physical training for their physical selves in jihad. Now they're busy serving the community through jihad. So they can't all of a sudden do those same type of training anymore, but there's still some training there. A person who becomes a hafiz, they can't spend 8 hours a day memorizing Quran anymore, revising the Quran. Now they're going to be in the community leading the prayers, and they're going to be in the community potentially teaching other children or other people, excuse me, or they're going to be leading the tarawih prayer. So now their time will be used up. So a person should not regret the amount of their deeds. At that point, when they receive ma'rif of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that person uh, um, Allah Ta'ala wants goodness for them. And He'll begin to elevate them on what they remain consistent on, even in that marifah. And this is why even the mashayikh, if you're doing like a lot of muraqabah, for example, they won't say the increase it hour, 2 hours. No, it's just about maintenance at that point. And so now the other thing to recognize is that there's a hadith of Prophet, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid din." Whoever Allah wants good for, He will give that person understanding of the religion. And the greatest understanding is the understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness, his majesty, his might, and having that proper aqidah towards him, recognition towards him, ma'rifah of him, so we can submit to him and do our worship towards him regularly. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants goodness for that person, then He will give tawfiq to that person to do these deeds in the first place. Then Allah ta'ala will want goodness through that person serving the community. And then Allah Ta'ala will want goodness to that person. Like, I'll give an example. If you study about different ad'iyah of the Prophet, du'as of the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you study about his worship, and now you want to take that study and put into practice, you have to cut down some of your studies. Because a lot of that time that would have gone to worship, you can't spend that time in studying anymore. If a person gets that marifa where they're now given tawfiq to act, then that person, and then they get a deeper understanding of Allah and closeness to Him, then that person, to maintain that now and to grow within it, there's an entirely sort of, is like a new set of principles that applies to that person. So, what I want to summarize this with, that we should strive for the quality in our worship as well as the quantity. Quantity is important because allows us to gain proficiency and excellence, and allows us to then work on the refinement of the internal. Once a person reaches a position of internal growth and ma'rifah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that person will naturally not be able to do as much anymore because they will likely become busy with other things, or they will sort of be more responsible for the maintenance and still subsequent growth with that marifa. And then we should all recognize that any good deeds that we do in the first place is still tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next one. لا تستغرب وقوع الأكدار ما دمت في هذه الدار. So long as you're in this world, be not surprised at the existence of sorrows. لا تستغرب وقوع الأكدار. That this is the latter part. don't find it gharib. Don't find it um strange that the things that are difficulty that they occur in this world. ما دمت في هذه الدار, so long as you live here. As long as a person in this world, in this dunya, they have to recognize this darul bala. There's no reason for that person to be surprised. Like, oh my God, my car got a flat. Oh my God, I got into an accident, etc. I mean, of course, we're not happy with it, but no one should be surprised. Why? فإنها ما أبرزت إلا ما هو مستحق وصفها وواجب نعتها. فإنها, for truly, ما أبرزت, it becomes bariz, it becomes clear, it manifests itself. إلا ما هو ما أبرزت, that does not manifest itself. إلا ما هو مستحق وصفها, but that in keeping with its character, وواجب نعتها, or the necessity of its nature. So let me explain this for a moment as well. This dunya has been created for one purpose. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. It's been created for us to for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see who will be أحسن عملا, to see who will have the best of deeds. Now, in that best of deeds that a person is aiming for, one of the ways by which Allah Ta'ala shows us who has the best of deeds is um, by us seeing, by us being put through difficulty. It is not an amazing thing for a hafiz to read the entire Quran within a week or 3 days. That is a hafiz who's in madrasa. But if a hafiz out when he's working or she's going to school or whatever the case may be is now still reading one Quran a week, that's amazing. Why is that amazing? Because even in the difficult times, that person is what? Keeping up. So when a person's in this world, if that person's just doing good deeds, I mean, it's great, but it's still not that amazing. But even in the face of ibtila and test, that person is still keeping faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing work for the sake of Allah. That's impressive. So here, لا تستغرب وقوع الأقدار ما دمت في هذه الدار. So long as you're in this world, be not surprised at the existence of sorrows. فإنها ما أبرزت إلا ما هو مستحق وصفها وواجب نعتها. For truly it manifests nothing but what is in keeping with its character or its inevitable nature. The world's responsibility was to test us. It is to put us through difficulty. And our responsibility is to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we don't submit, we should not assume that others are not going to fulfill their responsibility as well. You know how, like, if there's a student who doesn't do his homework or her homework, and I say, why didn't you do your homework? Well, so and so didn't do their homework. I'll look at the person, look, that's not your job. Your job is to do your part. They have to do their responsibility as well. If the just because we don't do what we're supposed to do, sometimes we're surprised. Why does the earth still continue to rotate, or why is this dunya testing us so much? That's the job of the dunya. So when we're over here, we shouldn't be surprised when difficulties transpire upon us, because that was the job of this world. What we should be surprised is that even though we see everything else functioning the way it should be, the trees continue to grow and they continue to produce leaves in the spring and shade and vegetation and fruits, etc. And the earth continues to spin and revolve and continues to spin upon its axis and orbit. And the sun continues to shine and warm, and the water continues to fall. All these things continue. The animals continue to behave the way they should, but we don't behave the way we should. That should be what's surprising. Not, oh, why am I being tested? That's the job of this dunya, to test us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made testing a way to distinguish who is superior and who is inferior, who is closer to him, who is not closer to him, who is grateful, who is ungrateful, who is patient, who is impatient. Furthermore, the Musannif rahmatullah alayhi mentions, لِيُخَفِّفْ ألم البلاء عليك ليخفف ألم البلاء عليك علمك بأنه سبحانه هو المبلي لك. To soften you for you the suffering of affliction, he has taught you that he is the one who causes trials to come upon you. فالذي وجهتك منه الأقدار والذي عودك حسن الاختيار. For the one who confronts you with his decrees of fate is the same one who has accustomed you to his good. ليخفف ألم البلاء عليك, to soften our hearts for the suffering of the difficulty that we have. ألم البلاء, that comes upon us. عليك. علمك بأنه سبحانه هو المبلي لك. He has taught you that he is the one who causes trials to come upon you. In this world, everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person recognizes it's Allah behind the scenes, that person, it will soften the blow for them. So what do I mean by this? Sometimes like so you have like a mother or teacher who walks by and like pulls a prank on you. Maybe like takes your slippers without you noticing, or like taps you on one shoulder. You look this way, and that person goes that way. Sometimes people get upset, like, well, who did that? And they turn around, they see who it was, like, oh no, no problem, don't worry about it. It happens sometimes. I can't think of a good example right now, but it happens sometimes that someone does something to you, and you get sort of upset right away, but then you recognize who it is. You're like, oh, no problem, like no problem. If that person did, it's not a problem. You guys know what I'm talking about? I think this is common. It's common. Sometimes even my kids sometimes will be playing, and then one person will sort of get pushed or hit, or like a ball will hit them. Like, who did that? Like, oh, I did. Like, oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I thought it was my brother or my sister who did it. And the reason for that is because when they see the person who did it, they recognize that person's position. This person's my mun'im. This is my muhib. This is Allah. And Allah is the same one who showered bounties on me and showered mercy upon me and keeps my body moving and keeps my heart beating and keeps my eyesight functioning. If we are aware of the different bounties that Allah Ta'ala puts upon us, then Allah says to soften when the blow comes, when the difficult time comes, He lets us know that He's also doing this. And why is that? فَالَّذِي وَجَهَتْكَ مِنْهُ الْأَقْدَارُ هُوَ الَّذِي عَوَّدَكَ حُسْنَ الْإِخْتِيَارِ. For the one who confronts you with his decrees of fate is the one who accustomed you to his good choice. Meaning, so you see that the one who blessed you with all these different blessings is the same one who made you go through difficulty. The way he wanted good for you in your good times, he still wants good for you in your difficult times. It just takes some time and it will manifest itself, the goodness, even in the hardship. Why are we comfortable when someone who, like, who we're playful with, etc., plays a prank with us? Because we know they did it with good intention, or we know they wanted good for us. They're just joking around with us. Someone else, you might question, like, why did you do that? What was that all about? So here the person becomes aware with Allah Ta'ala that Allah is doing it, and He still has the sun shining above my head. And He still has me say La ilaha illallah. And He still has, all these things working around me. So when He allowed this test to come upon me, He did it for some benefit. And that benefit I don't see yet. But I know the one, I have the ma'rifah, I know the one who is doing this to me, and because I know Him, I know it'll all work out in the end. Ajaban li amr al-mu'min. How strange is the affair of the believer. Why is it all good? Because it all comes from Allah. And the believer is the one who believes in Allah and submits to Allah. For them, it doesn't really matter, because if it's Allah who did it, they're very content and at peace in their heart. That's Allah who did it, and He wanted good for me in the first place. And all that He does is out of love. And all that He does is out of wanting goodness for me. And look at the Prophet's life. How much difficulty he went through. Even at Ta'if, when all those difficulties hit him, and they throw stones at him and they chase him out, etc. أشكو إليك ضعف قوتي وقلة هيلتي وهوان الناس. I complain to you about the weakness of my strength, and the ضعف قوتي وقلة حيلتي, and the limited resources I have, وحواني الناس, and the way I'm belittled, disgraced in the eyes of people. What does he say towards the end? فإن لم يكن علي غضب فلا أبالي ولكن عافيتك. Oh Allah, if you're not upset, I'm fine. I just want your afiyah. I want this goodness, this from you. That's all I want. Because he knew that having stones thrown at him is something that good that'll come out of it. And something good did come out of it with the story of Ta'if, when the angels came and Jibreel alayhi salam came with the angel of mountains, and then the angel of mountains said that I am the angel of mountains, and Ta'if is between two valleys, is a valley between two mountains, and I'll bring that mountain past them together to crush this valley. The Prophet ﷺ said no. Why? Because maybe someone will believe from them later. And we know that Muhammad bin Qasim al-Thaqafi, he was ordered by Hajjaj bin Yusuf, I believe it was a nephew of Hajjaj bin Yusuf, to go and bring and to march towards what we consider India today. And a lot of the spread of Islam occurred because of that marching. He wouldn't have been alive if Ta'if, if he was a Thaqafi, if it was crushed, he wouldn't have been alive. So the Prophet saw the quote unquote hand of Allah behind the scenes, meaning what? He recognized Allah is doing this for a reason. I'm not going to be upset. And so this is what يُخَفِّفْ أَلَمَ الْبَلَاءِ عَلَيْكَ. This is to reduce it. If we know the one who wishes good for us and always provided and done good for us is doing this to us, then it allows us to be content with it happening. Why? If I lost my job, well, Ar-Razaq is the one who had me lose my job. Maybe he has something better for me. If I'm sick, a Shafi, he's the one who has me, allows me to be sick. He has a greater cure waiting for me, etc., etc. من ظن من ظن انفكاك لطفه عن قدري. Whoever has this thought or supposes that his gentleness is separate from his decree of faith, meaning Allah's gentleness versus his qadr. فَذَلِكَ لِقُصُورِ نَظَرِي. That he does so out of short-sightedness. Meaning, if anyone says that that the when he's gentle versus when he allows the hardships of fate to come upon us, if those are separate, that person isn't فَذَلِكَ لِقُصُورِ نَظَرِي. He has short-sightedness. He doesn't understand Allah's plan. That from the long term, something good is going to come out of it. The one who took the Prophet out of Makkah to Mukarramah promised to bring him back. لَرَادَ, that he promised to bring him back to Makkah to Mukarramah. But in that long term, the Prophet has to have long term vision to see that what's going to be the end result of this, not what's the immediate situation regarding it. So we don't think Allah is only gentle when good things happen to us. In fact, the Sahaba used to be worried when good things came to them. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, on one occasion, he was given a container and it had water and it was mixed with honey. And when he began to drink it, he didn't know this, Mr. Drunk. He started crying so much. The Sahaba thought around him was what? Around him, they thought that he was that something physically. Well, he became physically ill or in pain. But finally, when he stopped crying, they asked him what happened, and he feared that this would be his paradise in this world. They didn't think when goodness came that Allah was being latif with them. They were actually worried when goodness came to them that maybe the rewards are in this world. The way they looked at it was that the hardship is potentially punishment in this world, or it's a trial by which I can get to a higher level in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. And then the goodness might be taken away from my hereafter. So man dhanna fikaka lutfihi an qadri. Whoever separates these two things, Allah's being latif and being kind, etc., versus when fate and the difficulties of fate come, فَذَلِكَ لِقُصُورِ نَظَرِهِ. He doesn't understand. A person is short-sighted in their vision. We should see Allah's gentleness and his rifq and his lutf and all of these things, even when we go through difficulty. In fact, especially when we go through difficulty, because it's often through the difficulty that He draws us near. It's often through the difficulty He draws us near. And then through difficulty, a person gets an azima and gets a sabr and gets hilm and all these great characteristics, and then becomes a person more deserving by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through punishment. through difficulty they get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then if a person only thinks that Allah is being kind when ease comes upon them, when then difficulty comes, that person will have a very hard time dealing with Allah Ta'ala. They will forget Allah's characteristics. They will forget that this is all from Allah's goodness. And they'll begin to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so on and so forth. So these were alhamdulillah, we finished the remaining chapter from last time, the full chapter this time, with a few minutes to spare. So I will, inshallah, let you all go. Inshallah, we'll meet again tomorrow at 8 o'clock. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله بحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك